Listen, you know I'm not a great dresser. It takes an award of this magnitude to get me to be dressed up almost as good as Jimmy Sarnoff, who's the best dresser ever. But listen, I want to express my thanks to the Lincoln Park Builders Club. You know, for most of us real estate professionals in Chicago, our first visit to the clubhouse is a rite of passage. It really is. The first visit is a big deal. Some guys or gals, as excited as they are to be there, are a bit nervous, and they want to make a good impression. One young professional recently told me, "Can you believe it? I spoke with Jim Jan." I think he told me a joke, but I'm not so sure if it was a joke or not, so I laughed. It's such an honor to receive this award and be able to address a captive audience. For those of you who've been to the summer soiree, the annual NBOA event, I've tried to brag about the NBOA's accomplishment at the summer soiree. Each time, many of you were so engaged in drinking, eating, and conversation that you drowned me out. So tonight is a perfect chance for me to accumulate those missed speeches, gather them together, and read them, because Sam, you said I have 70 minutes, right? Listen, I'm blown away about this award. It really astonishes me that I would win this impact award for my involvement in the real estate industry. There's some titans of the industry that have won this award before, and many are in this room. I own and manage a few hundred units, and I really don't consider myself a hardcore real estate person. To this day, I couldn't tell you how a toilet works. When my tuck pointer tells me about the deteriorating condition of the lintels at my buildings, I fixate on the word lintel and I think about my mother's soup. So who am I? Why am I receiving this awesome award and being recognized like this? I assumed the presidency of the NBOA a little bit later in my life, and I have to admit, when reflecting on this speech, by becoming president, I found my calling. In 2018, when I learned that the NBOA was seeking new leadership, I tossed my hat in the ring. By the way, there were no other hats. But NBOA was established years earlier, 22 years ago, as overly zealous porch requirements and continued frustration with the RLTO caused several housing providers to form the group. Without the assistance of a lobbyist, they did not want a lobbyist, they wanted to advocate directly. Estella Kaiser, Martin Kerpel, and Marty Max successfully made some great changes to the RLTO before burnout set in. So 15 years later, I took a seat on the NBOA board. We met monthly at Mike Slater's office. And courtesy of the past president, or the president at the time, Aaron Feldman, I learned something very important. North Shore bakeries make great coffee cake. Really good. I soon became president and famously issued my first proclamation. We are no longer going to be using that word landlords. We are now going to be called, what? Housing providers. See, landlord is a term that's several centuries old. It was devised around the time that Mike Choros broke into the industry. You know, we are not lords of the land, despite what Keith, Lord, might say. NBOA soon got involved with issues at the state, city, and county levels, with victories, losses, and of course, ties. A tie is a code word when we make horrible legislation a bit less horrible. But 18 months after I assumed the presidency, I'll use the word, the shit hit the fan as COVID brought on rent strikes and eviction moratoriums. You guys all remember, right? Suddenly, I was devoting 12 hours a day to NBOA. 2 years later, as COVID subsided, we were hit by another storm. An uber progressive mayor and new socialist city council members introduced far-flung ideas like the potentially disaster transfer tax referendum, which NBOA helped defeat. And more recently, the ludicrous right of first refusal ordinances on the northwest side and in Jackson Park now, which we continue to vigorously oppose. And due to our relationships with two key aldermen, we convinced Gil Villegas and Felix Cardona to pull out of that ordinance. That was a victory. But we have a lot of work to do on that. So here's the bottom line, y'all. If left unchallenged, the far-left politicians will continue to make running our buildings more complicated, impacting our operations, and making housing less affordable. Strong and responsive advocacy is the key to fighting and defeating these misguided and dangerous legislations. And I have to say it, I really believe that we have to keep a vigilant eye on rent control legislation next spring in the General Assembly. But the NBOA's work is only partially about legislation. We also are concerned about how our industry is portrayed in the media. For that reason, because we know that public perception counts, we must make sure our voice and perspectives are heard in print media, television, and social media. So to deal with these challenges, we hired a skillful lobbyist, former Alderman Joe Moore, and a dedicated public relations professional, Mick Snyder of Sphere PR. It's 6 years later. They're still with us. They're dedicated and they understand the business and they are serving us so well. Let's hear it for them. But underlying NBOA's success is our partnership with 12 affiliates, each organically sprouted organizations that do their own thing. 11 are geographically based, one is ethnically oriented, that's the Latino Real Estate Council. Our affiliates for the NBOA, we're sort of the advocacy arm of these 12 groups, but we treat our affiliates as our farm system. We're talking and interacting with these affiliates because we are seeking housing providers and other real estate professionals willing to help us get involved in advocacy. So here's the takeaway. We have a common responsibility if we want to beat off these horrible these acts. We must build strong and vibrant relationships with elected officials and the media. Neighborhood multi-family industry needs the right housing to providers to be on phone calls or Zoom calls or meetings with aldermen. We in the industry have to interact and build relationships to make a difference. The neighborhood multifamily industry needs to participate in calls to action, as we successfully did a few weeks ago, back when the state legislatures, the Senate, was seeking to decrease move-in fees to 20% and require us to itemize those expenses, something none of us wanted. Virtually overnight, we issued a call to action. The response was ridiculously great. 800, about the number of people in this room, of you participated, and each letter that went out went to 30 senators. So we essentially 800 times 24,000 emails to state senators, assisting our Chicagoland Apartment Association lobbyists who are working Springfield. Joe works city and county. Our relationship with the CAA helped beat back this very harmful legislation. Thank you all, we won that one. Finally, and I referred to media, the neighborhood multifamily industry needs housing providers willing to advocate for our industry in press interviews. There was a very challenging issue with ICE in the South Shore building that we were asked for our opinion, a very, very tough situation, and Mick Snyder, along with gentlemen who really had to go out on a limb, Jeff Weinberg and Miguel Chacon, worked with the media, and we put on a very intelligent face and a proper balance to that really, really difficult issue. Okay, so advocacy is not for everybody, I get it. But for those of you who are interested, please come join us. for those of you who aren't interested, but you still benefit from what we do, think about that transfer tax that didn't happen. Cut us a check. So I know I'm running a little shy, I'm around 68 minutes, I think. But I have to say some important thank yous. First to Joe and Mick, but also to our executive director who we brought on a year ago, Joel Massell of CMS Services. In 1 year, he stabilized we grew faster than our administrative foundation. He fixed that, and now with Elizabeth Rupp, they oversaw this amazing summer soiree. And I saw Joel scribbling the names of the sponsors to make sure we get them. So. Also, thanks to our advisor, a really wonderful friend, Don Vincent of the Daily Line, and Donna Noble, our sensational bookkeeper, Walt Kennedy, who worked much with our graphics, and very importantly, my girlfriend Cheryl Rosenberg, who among her many contributions, and there are many, she's the reason why every email that you receive from NBOA looks perfect. Don't they look great? I mentioned them before, but I'll mention them again. We have a tremendous partnership with the Chicagoland Apartment Association. I'm on their legislative committee. We work together. And the Chicago and Illinois Realtors also are a dear partner of ours. We're working with them on these right of first refusal ordinances. Adrian Borowski, Mike Meany, John Kozlowski, these are our friends and our partners, and together we are impactful. And their lobbyists are sensational, and through the SHAPE Coalition that CAA organizes, we really put up a great fight on the rent control issue. I want to thank our executive committee. I'll just do first names: Roman, Andrew, Fayan, and who am I forgetting? Sorry, brain freeze. And our 25-member board: Andrew, Roman, Jeff Weinberg, and the kid. Also, I want to do a shout out, this is important, to Alejandro, Max, and Emma, who organize our young professionals. If you're under 35 years of age and you want to be involved in advocacy and attend some really good parties, attend their events, get on their mailing list. We need to activate the next generation of leaders. Also, and I hope she's here, none of this would be possible if Eve Bartosik and Alex Hernandez from my team at Magellan Properties weren't so great at doing the stuff that I ought to be doing, but I'm doing this. They are incredible, and if you're here, I know you got here late. And 3 out-of-towners who came here, my sister Pam Phillips from Naples, Florida, and my niece Sarah and Pat from Charleston. I really welcome you guys. Finally, our strength comes from our affiliates. When I took over the NBOA, there were 5 affiliates. Now we're up to 12, and we have a presence in the West Suburban and North Suburban Cook County, with more groups taking an interest. We all know about leverage. Well, the more groups that are involved, the greater our reach to elected officials. This is a factor behind our growing success. So finally, stop laughing. Finally, to those of you who are getting started in life, consider your own passion or calling. Try and find the right outlet, as I did a little bit later in life. May you all succeed at doing that and experience the same joy that I feel tonight. Thank you, my friends, for this great honor.